So recording is in progress. All right, so I'm here with the lovely Faye. Let me change our view here, otherwise you're like, so I'm gonna make us gallery, otherwise you're very, oh, there we are, peer to peer. Can you see us?
I can see us.
Yeah, see how we're equal sided there?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
me and my friend Faye. So
Yeah.
listen, I know the other ladies had other commitments today, but Faye and I are still gonna go through some of the material we planned. We're not gonna do an exercise component today. I'm hoping that you guys can go back and look at some of the other ones or, just shoot me a text if you want me to send you a write-up or a video to follow, but hopefully you have a few to draw back on. Anyway, Faye's been doing great, so I will turn the floor over to Faye to get a couple of words on how she's been able to hold her own and what she has planned for the upcoming week. So what do you say, Faye?
What do I think? I'm hanging on by a thread.
You're hanging on just beautifully.
I'm hanging on. Unexpectedly last night, I had lunch yesterday. I tried to at least do my two, not do two things in a day. And I had a ladies' lunch, a birthday celebration, and that was easy. There was no alcohol. I didn't have a drink. Had a salad, very healthy. But when I got home last night, we were going out for a quick bite. And there's a very beautiful upscale restaurant here that you have to make reservations 13 days in advance.
13.
Yeah, but we heard, because it's a lottery system and there's so many people, it's so big, the restaurant. So we heard if you went in, there's a piano player there. And if you sit near the bar area, you can eat and, blah, blah, blah. So we said, you know what? Okay, so we walked in, and it's one of these beautiful romantic restaurants.
Oh, Faye, I'm picturing Hallmark. Go ahead.
Yeah, God, it really was. And he was playing beautiful, soft music, like Christmas music.
Right.
So now we said, well, we'll sit in the bar area and we'll have maybe, we don't have to eat a heavy meal because it's the kind where you open the menus light up behind, so it's so fancy. Well, we ended up moving from the table in the bar area to the bar stool on the bar, and then a table opened up in the main dining room. So now we're eating in the main dining room, this beautiful.
Oh my God.
Of course, now we didn't order a bottle of wine, we had a glass of wine. But I couldn't, it was a kind of one of those places where it was hard to choose. So I did get tenderloin.
Good choice.
It was, I haven't had red meat in a while, and I knew it's a better
choice. Good for you, yeah. Some iron in there.
So I did okay. But it was like, their thing is, they bring desserts and they bring these. No, don't bring them. Please don't.
Did you have any yummy oil and bread on the table?
I took a piece of crust, and then we told her she could take the bread away.
Wow, good for you.
So we were done, and it was a skinny little piece of a fig bread because the breads were good. I'm hanging on by a thread, girlfriend.
Well, Faye, whatever you're the challenge for you, you're not the type of person who has a lot of cookies and crackers and stuff in the house. Your challenge is not, I'm working from home and I get bored, I go into the kitchen, I grab this. Everybody's got their own kind of challenging scenario, and yours is it's people say, oh, that must be so tough, but it is when you have all these social events presenting you with lovely food. Even if you just do a little, it's probably more than you would have done if you and Jerry were just at home last night. It would have been a different story. So that's the challenge. Is one, your options are somewhat, I don't want to say limited because you're ordering, but you are taking that seriously. You order well. You telling the waitress to take the bread away is awesome. A lot of people are saying, "I'll reload that. Thank you very much."
I know, and it was good bread.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel for you when you say this week's going to be challenging. It sounds like you just have a lot of social engagements.
Another night out, yeah. It's. But and then when we come home, it's bing, 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 and I'm dreading. It's so terrible to be so conscious of it, and I want to enjoy it all, and know your face, but I'm going to hate myself in the morning, kind of thing. So,
well, I think, yeah, you bring up a good point. Is you don't want it hanging over you, as a damper on a good time. And maybe it's not so much a mindset that says, I can't eat that, I can't eat that, but more of a mindset that says, wow, I can have a really good time. I don't have to go there, right? It's almost like the same thing with alcohol, is we're just so tuned into socializing with alcohol that, it's like, well, you can go out and not drink. It's just so ingrained in our society, but just if you can keep that mindset, it's not that you're punishing yourself, it's that you're going to feel better if you don't start feeling bloated or, a little tight in the waistband. I know people are probably looking at you saying, she's going to feel bloated, but everybody has, the way they like to feel. And 3 pounds is enough that you can feel it. So, I urge you to keep that mindset of, I'm so fortunate I have all this, but I don't have to, nibble at you know, every little item that's presented to me. And obviously that's what you're doing because you've maintained your weight. I think your weight is actually 1 pound lower than your first weigh-in.
Think, yeah, it might be. And then after this holiday season, I really want to, I got another job to take care of and work on. I want to go down a little.
Yeah, well,
I did on a good note, I did find a nice thing in the refrigerator. Jerry always brings home, he goes to Costco, so he brings home a huge amount of celery because he can't buy one package. So we always have too much celery, it goes bad, throw it out.
right.
So the last time he brought some home, there's, I'm sure you probably know the trick is if you put celery in water, it
Yes,
stays.
stays turgid.
So we're at the end and he chopped off and threw a bunch in a glass in the refrigerator. Well, that was like the best thing ever because they were, small half sizes, and to open the refrigerator and it was a
Grab a
snack.
couple, right? They're right there. Yeah.
I said, we have to do this all this. It was like an accident. This is like the perfect thing to have in the refrigerator.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like, because it was so, it was, gets you that crunchy,
Yeah.
almost feeling.
Yeah.
So that was my good story for the week.
Oh, Faith, that is so awesome. Like I'll tell people, steam your green beans and have them in a Tupperware, I eat those like French fries, but I love what you're saying. You don't even have to cook it,
Exactly.
You're not trimming the ends off these little beans. I mean, you just cut, put it in a glass of water, and there it is. And tell me if I'm wrong here, Faye, when you're crunching on that celery, are you thinking, man, this is so good?
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, like it actually has a taste. It has the crunch, and it just makes us wonder, why do we think a Cheez-It, which after you eat a few, you feel the coating on the top of your mouth from the hydrogenated fat, right? We're just tuned into salt and sugar so much that if you can get rid of that and just taste that natural flavor, it's like, wow,
It's a good good thing to have. I mean, there's that, not to say that peanut M&Ms aren't good,
right?
Just saying.
But at the same point, Faye, right? If you had a candy dish in your kitchen with peanut M&Ms, what would you be grabbing? I have a client and she always has very often she has Lindt truffles.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's good because I don't grab those as much, but I often wonder, if you're trying to lose weight, why are you keeping Lindt truffles on the kitchen counter? I don't say anything. But when she does have, sometimes she'll have the spiced nuts or like M&Ms. I come up from my workout room, I grab a couple. So that is such a good point, is if it's there, whether it's good or bad, you will probably eat it. So keep some of the more challenging stuff away and put the other good stuff there. Not every family has that option because whether it's, they say, the husband or the kids, but who's the gatekeeper of the house, and does anybody really need a steady supply of candy? I don't think so. So, well, good for you. I'm going to put that when I send out the note today, because I don't know how many people even really look at the videos, but I'm going to mention that as such an easy thing, an easy hack to try. So often we're just looking for something to nibble.
Yeah.
Right. What did I want to say on that, Faye? Oh, and you're also doing a great job of keeping up your movement, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You sound weary. Yeah. Well, again, one of the things I'm just gonna go through a really quick handout, and I'll send it to everybody on metabolism, right? Because everybody's like, boost your metabolism, boost your metabolism. Best way to boost your metabolism is to move more, right? Because it's like pulling on a top. If you pull on that top, it spins more. You harder you pull, it will keep spinning longer than a
Oh, I
wheel.
like a good analogy.
Yeah, isn't it a good analogy? And if you pull it kind of often, right, it speeds up often, right? It speeds up often. So, you can either be pulling it often, which may actually have more rotations or spins than if you just really crank it hard and then leave it alone. So if you think of that in terms of your metabolism, movement is key, but I'm going to go through a few other factors that a lot of people don't consider, okay? All right, and Faye, I'm going to go into screen share mode. Hopefully I can find it. What I didn't put in this, it's just like a little Word doc. I did not put in all the footnotes to the research. And if anybody wants more, they can ask me, or maybe I'll send a document of some sort. Oh, shoot, now I can't find it. Hold on. It was as a Word document. Hang on, Faye, 1 second, okay?
Yeah.
All right, I'm minimizing you. Oh, can't minimize there. All right. All right, I'm just going to go through it verbally, and then I'll send the document with a follow-up note, okay? All right, so obviously the first way to boost your metabolism and the best way is to move more. And the point I was going to make about you, one, you do purposeful exercise, which is great, right? But then you're also very active throughout your day. So when we talk about movement, it's not just the purposeful exercise, it's recreation. So you have your golf. I know Sarah's a golfer. Maybe you just go out and play some tennis, or I don't know, maybe you go for a hike, but it could be recreational movement. Recreational movement could be like I did, was it just last weekend, going into New York City and not power walking, we walked all the way up Madison Avenue, took a nice long stroll through Central Park, touring, going into Boston, going downtown, going shopping is movement. And then the other form of movement, which is I'm very good at, is chores. And a lot of people underestimate that. But if you have leaves to rake, or maybe you have do your own vacuuming or anything like that, anything that's going to get you moving. I was going to say shovel snow, that's out for you, and nor do I want people going out and having a heart attack. But you consider the movement we used to do. Most of the population in our country about 100 years ago, much of that movement was just chores, which many of us are not doing anymore. There's landscapers, there's snow plows, there's cleaning people. A lot of us have, shopping services, but that used to be a big portion of our expenditure. So when you look at how we've morphed into this society where like 40% of us are overweight, a lot of that goes back to this type of lifestyle where we've just taken more and more movement out. We try to replace it with 45 minutes at the gym. So when people say, oh yeah, I work out, I go to the gym 3 times a week, I do this hardcore spin class. Well, that's 3 out of 7 days. And then if you're just sitting, you see how our expenditure has shrunk as our lifestyles have changed. So I just urge people to think about not just the 45 minutes, half hour of exercise that they're able to fit in, but to think about how to be more active in general. And like I said, I think I put something on the Facebook page, I know you can't take advantage of it, of things to do in and around Boston, which is why I'm just so pushing, the nature trails, the hiking, touring a museum, touring a historic area, okay? And in your case, touring Neiman Marcus, that counts too. So movement. The second thing people talk about is adding more muscle mass, which, a lot of people, especially, personal trainers and gyms will say, oh, that's the secret to weight loss, is adding more muscle mass. Muscle mass is a metabolically active tissue, right? So it's going, and I don't want to try to get too deep into this, but it does burn more calories, okay? But if you were to add a pound of muscle, it's not easy to add muscle, okay? I think the figure was for every pound of muscle you add, you might burn around 25 more calories a day.
That's it.
Okay, now if you think about that, yeah, I guess if you're, some skinny mini and you've added 10 pounds of muscle, 250 calories could be significant. But you can burn 250 calories with a half-hour walk. Okay, what studies also indicate is what you do to create that new muscle is more significant than the muscle that you've added, right? So the work that you're doing to get the muscle is burning a lot of calories. And then another study, probably there's more than just one, says as we lose muscle, or people that have less muscle mass are less active, right? So for those of us who are over 50 and beyond, it's not just the lifestyle that tends to reduce our movement. If we start getting weaker, slower, we're just not as comfortable moving, and we do not do as much, right? I have one friend, I love her dearly, but if I wanted to go hiking up Blue Hills and then for a glass of wine at the Hillside Pub, she's going to have a hard time hiking with me, right? Because she doesn't have that kind of muscle mass and she doesn't have that level of conditioning. So yes, muscle mass is an important factor in your metabolism, but so is maintaining it and creating it, because that boils back to the movement itself. So a lot of people focus on adding the muscle, but another way to do it is to become more aerobically fit. All right, so let me explain this. If you were to think of your metabolism as a factory, right? If you add more muscle, it's like having more factories, because the type of mitochondria cells in muscle tissue, there's more of them, right? So adding more muscle is going to give you more metabolic factories. However, when you increase your cardiovascular fitness, it's like taking the factories that you have and upgrading them, right? They're going to be more effective. So that's another thing people misunderstand, is it's not just muscle mass that makes you more active, it's increasing your cardiovascular fitness. And then also look at increasing your cardiovascular fitness. You look at the Zooms that we do and how we move. If you're more aerobically fit, you can accomplish more levels of high intensity workout, therefore burning more calories, right? So it's like saying, I've made my factory more efficient, right? And now instead of running on an 8-hour schedule, this sucker's open 24 hours a day, right? So my point is, it's not just adding muscle, it's not just movement. If you really want to be efficient metabolically, you want to have that aerobic fitness level as well, which you do, so good for you. All right, let's talk about another very important factor, and that is adequate sleep. I think you're pretty good at that, Faye, but I don't know where I saw it. It said, in our society now, we sort of wear I only get 5 hours of sleep as a badge of honor of some sort. 5 hours of sleep is not adequate for brain function, and it messes with all sorts of factors, not just at a cognitive level, but at a hormonal level. And this is huge. Studies over and over show that people who sleep 5 hours or less tend to be more overweight. So what are the factors here? There's two really key hormones that play a role in our appetite. One is called ghrelin, and that's the hunger hormone. Lack of sleep, inadequate sleep, kind of ramps that sucker up, so we feel more hungry. The second hormone is called leptin, Leptin, and that's the hormone that says, I'm full. And that one tends to go to sleep. I shouldn't say go to sleep, we're talking about sleep. It tends to nosedive. So with lack of sleep, your hormones are going to be working against you, saying you need more food, you're not full, and you won't have that same control over your appetite and cravings. So sleep, and let's face it, if you're in adequate sleep, your judgment is going, you're probably more prone to cravings anyway, and you're too tired to work out. So sleep is huge. So what is the other one? Oh, there's something called the thermal effect of food, where we talk about how many calories it takes to actually digest the food. And that, that's sort of been in vogue, and then now it's fallen a little bit more out of vogue, because we used to say, eat frequently throughout the day to keep that fire burning, right? But and now look what we're at now. Now we're talking intermittent fasting that says don't eat for long periods of time. I think underneath that, those are relevant. There is a thermal effect of food, but in terms of what that might do to your behaviors, it's probably statistically insignificant compared to the behavioral aspect of it. If you're eating small, frequent feedings, is it the thermal effect of food that's helping you, or the fact that you're not getting too hungry? Right? That you're maybe planning it. All right, I've had my breakfast, now I'm going to have my yogurt, right? So the small frequent feedings tend to be more intentional, therefore keeping the caloric intake more moderate. The problem with intermittent fasting, you can lose weight. There's several reasons to do intermittent fasting in terms of how your body is processing or managing your blood sugar levels, right? So if you're pre-diabetic or you have high blood sugar, it can be very, very powerful. And there's some other health benefits to it. But in terms of weight loss, intermittent fasting only works because it is a form of,
that D word.
Diet? Yeah, it's a form of caloric restriction, right? So, which is really where any weight loss diet only works, because it's a form of caloric restriction. The question is, how well is it going to hold your hunger so you don't overeat, and how healthy is it, right? So, and then one other factor is if it's a super, super low carbohydrate diet, what you're losing is a lot of water, not just body fat. So when you hear about the thermal effect of food, or you're questioning why do we used to say this versus that, science is always revealing new things, but regardless of what science says, you always have to take into consideration the behavioral implication, right? So that's where I come back to thermal effect of food that says small frequent feedings can be good because you're more controlled and purposeful. It could also be bad because if you're not hungry, don't eat, right? You just don't want to get super, super crazy hungry and end up buying a small canister of Pringles at the Target checkout line. Who would do that? I don't know. Oh, I got them in the car. I'm like, oh my God, it's salt. It's fat on the top of my mouth. I should have gotten the packet of Oscar Mayer turkey instead, right? Because I've been known to do that at Target. I'll buy the Oscar Mayer turkey and I eat half the package, like a little carnivore in the parking lot. So anyway, I just want to make that's something you're going to hear a lot of too. So movement, not just exercise, but stay active. The other great thing about movement, recreationally, is you're engaged and your mind is being stimulated, not just your body, and you're not bored at home just eating. So movement, cardiovascular efficiency, maintain your muscle mass, get adequate sleep. Those are really your best strategies for keeping an active metabolism. Any questions on that, Faye?
Mm-mm.
You feel like you're handling that? I think you're handling that pretty well. How about you?
Yeah, and when I dabbled with intermittent fasting, no, not now, but what I did take away from that, and that the only real thing that I do is I don't eat food after dinner.
Right.
Especially, of course, when I'm out, dinner is a long dinner, but when I'm home and we, even when we come home, I mean, I will have my coffee, I will, but no food, no snack after I eat dinner.
That's awesome, Faye. And now again, if you were to read more, and if anybody who's listening to this wants more information on intermittent fasting, it really does have very positive health benefits in terms of your blood sugar. If we just keep eating and feeding carbohydrates, which is what a lot of people are doing, we just keep all that blood sugar floating around in our bodies without letting it have time to get moved out, right? So there's some real benefits to that. And also they talk about, autophagy, which has something to do about your immune system. And there's some things that point to, maybe anti-cancer benefits. But you hit on a point that I make a lot, and I just like making it, so I'm gonna make it again, blah, blah, blah. Yes, there is a time at night when you are supposed to not eat after if you're trying to manage your weight. Everybody says, I know there's a time I'm supposed to stop eating, right? And I'll say, what do you think? 7, 8, 6? And I let a few numbers come out, and then I say, the time you're supposed to stop eating at night is when you are no longer hungry. Because it's usually, in terms of weight management, which is different than blood sugar control and some of these other things, is it's not the eating it later at night or after dinner, it's the overeating at night, which often happens when people are on a diet and they're trying so hard to be restrictive. They have fish and green beans and no little thing of potato or no, little, 2/3 of a cup of rice, right? So they save themselves 150 calories by eliminating the starch, which, that might be very, very good for you, but not if it turns around to say, I hit the cupboard and pull out 300 calories of mini chocolate chips, right? Or Pringles. So that's important feedback, Faye. So you played around with it, but your biggest takeaway was, I just don't need that extra food at night.
Yeah, yeah.
What were you tending to eat after dinner?
Not that, I don't know. If I was snack, I would probably, it depends what was in the house. My house is pretty bare. But if it were, maybe have ice cream, and again, it's always like a yasso or something. But even at that, I'm trying not to have anything after dinner. I had my coffee, and that's
right. Well, it's good that if you do it, you're doing a portion controlled thing like a yasso bar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, because just a couple of bites of ice cream that you don't even put into a dish.
Yeah.
What is it, like a half a cup of most simple ice creams, like a vanilla or a coffee, is around 160 to 180 calories. You start talking Ben and Jerry's or Haagen-Dazs, it's 280 up calories per half cup. So if we're not measuring it, I mean, that's brutal. And Faye, I don't know about you, I'd be saying 150 calories worth of a yasso bar. That's almost a 6-ounce glass of wine tomorrow night. Right.
Exactly.
So it's that sense of, there's only so much in the budget.
Yeah.
And, but, and that's, those might be considered just like disposable income. You have X amount of disposable income. The less disposable income you have, the more you tend to care about where you're spending it. Right. Yeah. So good for you, Faye.
Always a quick byproduct. So at this fancy restaurant, before dinner, the chef sends over this little cup of hot something, and I look in it and I see this is not good, and I take a tiny taste, and it was some kind of warmed up, like a soup that just in a teacup, and it was clearly all butter and cream.
Oh.
So the waitress comes and she sees, Jerry's not eating his either. This is not. It was some kind of lobster bisque is what it was. So
right.
It was tree, blah blah. So the server comes over and she says, are you through with this? And I said, well, yeah, you can take it away. And what did she? I said it. I didn't mean to be insulting, so I accidentally said, oh, it's a little rich. And then I wanted to not criticize the chef. I said, well, it's not that it's rich; it's really too many calories.
Well, how did she respond to that?
She smiled and walked it away.
And again,
it's exactly what it was. I tasted a little taste of it. It was good, but I mean, it was just one big fat, fat food.
Faye, I know there's probably people that say that, you're making your clients overly zealous and you're making them worry too much about what they're consuming. And, that's not right. And my point is, let's face it, if you really like something, you're not, creme brulee, you might be like, hey, it's rich, but I'm eating it, right? My point is not to say, don't enjoy rich food. It's just to be honest with yourself and say, take the calories out of it. Is it taking me where I want to go? And do I like the way I feel? Right? So, recently, it was after our trip into New York. We went back to my niece's house and all we had was pizza. There was a little salad. The salad tasted great, but I ended up eating, 2 pieces of pizza, and I like pizza, but it's just not what I like it, but I would have liked to have had like, maybe some, broccolini or, roasted asparagus. Like we're sort of trained to think that the best foods are the ones that are high in calories, and that's not the case.
Mhm.
Right? And if I'm out for a glass of wine and we decided to order the truffle fries, I'm going to eat them
Yeah.
because I like them. But there's certain things that they're very rich, and as good as they are, I'll take a bite, but that's all I need. And so I think that's really what you're saying is, just because it was put in front of you doesn't mean, and you're supposed to enjoy it, doesn't mean you have to go there.
Yeah.
You pick and choose. You didn't say I can't have the tenderloin because I should be ordering fish, right?
No, and Jerry ordered fish. Jerry ordered fish, which is
Yeah,
usually the other way around. But I
right.
just,
But you look at people that say, I had this recently, a gentleman who said he was so proud of himself that he didn't eat the bread at the Italian restaurant. And I said, well, then what'd you have order for dinner? Chicken Parmesan. It's like,
yeah.
it's like, know your ketchup, know your hot dog. And just because it's there doesn't mean you have to do it. And I almost hear what you're saying is, so reiterating what I'm saying is, it's not that it was too rich or that it wasn't prepared properly. It was just more than you wanted, and you didn't need it.
Bought it. It was
Yeah.
the budget.
I'm saving my budget for that next glass of wine. But that's the way to do it. Is the reality is when people say, I don't want to count calories, I don't want to weigh myself. I'm like, okay, well, let's see how that works for you. But if it's not working, it's not that, oh, I just can't lose weight no matter how hard I try. It's like, well, why don't we try looking at this as a budget and see where you're continuing to overspend and you're not aware of it, right? And that's really my message is no matter what, you've got a budget, right? And you're spending. And you can make that budget bigger with more movement, and you can spend less by being a more frugal shopper, so to speak. But that's the reality. And that's what becomes so hard during the holidays, not just financially, but calorically. Well, Faye, thank you. You've been such an excellent example for us today.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been a pleasure speaking with you. So I'm sorry we didn't have more people to sit in on this because I'm sure they would have had some things to add as well. But listen, I am going to be Zooming next Saturday. All right. Hopefully we'll I know Sarah and Jen were asking if I was going to be doing it, and I will. When are you traveling, Faye?
We're coming in Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday. Okay. So you'll have a while. I'm going to shut off the recording and I'll talk to you just real quick after that.
Okay.
All right. Well, Faye, thank you so much for all your time. Those of you who might be tuning in, look at your email. I'm going to send the handout that I put together. I just couldn't figure out how to screen share here on metabolism. And Jen, thank you for posting. She put a neat little post up about the benefits of exercise, which is so cool, which we all know we should be doing, but in terms of brain health and anxiety and things like that. All right, so Faye, thank you. I'm going to talk to you offline, and everybody else, I hope you're having a good week.
And Merry Christmas to those that I won't see.
Yeah, there you go. All right, signing off. Hope to see everybody next week. I'm stopping our